BattleBit has come a long way since its release to early access back in June 2023. To even step further back from that, folks, back before the game even released into early access, you look at where BattleBit is now versus where it was, it's very impressive for a development team of 3 people. But I think we all know that 2024 is going to be a big year for BattleBit in maintaining the momentum that it's gained since its release. And of course, we're all going to have our own opinions about what needs to be done to maintain that momentum. So, g'day there once again viewers, your mate Kamikaze78 here, and today folks, I thought we'd have a bit of fun and discuss our personal wish lists for BattleBit in 2024. So, I do say our personal wish lists in the intro for this one here, folks, because quite frankly, while I'm the one talking here in the video, I also want this video to be an opportunity for all of you in the comments to lay out what you want to see from BattleBit in 2024. On top of that, I'm very keen to continue the conversation over on our Discord, which is linked in the description down below as well. So make sure you come join the community over there as well. But anyways, it's a new year, and while BattleBit continues to be one of my favorite shooters on the market right now, that's not to say it's perfect by any means, and I have a bit of a wish list for things that I would like to see completed in 2024. Some of it's more quality of life orientated, some of it's game features, and some of it is content. And we're going to go through that in no particular order here today. I want to start off with a pretty common request that I've seen throughout the community across the board, and this is something that I even suggested about a year ago now. Loadouts, or the ability to create presets or builds of equipment that you have unlocked so far. BattleBit's loadout customization is pretty deep, from weapon builds, complementing gadgets, and your character's armor layout. There's a lot of boxes to tick to getting the perfect synergy for how you build your loadout. The moment you change your weapon and armor combo, you suddenly change the entire way your class plays that requires attention elsewhere. For example, say I'm playing the engineer class and I want to build a real tank buster of a kit, something that's really designed to just make vehicles have the worst day possible. Then you need to turn your character into a real chungoose to make that happen. The bigger backpack, a weapon that may be a bit slower to complement longer range engagements, a heavier RPG, all that fun stuff. It's a real process to go through. But on the flip side, folks, the engineer can also be built into one of the game's fastest playing pseudo Bomberman builds that happens to carry a few rockets for absolute carnage. An engineer rocking an RPG with no armor, backpack, and an SMG of some kind makes for one of the fastest classes in the game that also just so happens to carry a rocket launcher and is some of the most fun you can have in BattleBit in my opinion. However, switching between those two archetypes on the engineer, or anything in between for that matter, takes a lot of time. The very act of needing to do a complete and total rebuild of your gear every time you want to change it up a little bit discourages the very act of exploring new playstyles in the game. Because, well, that class that you built, say you want to try something different, well, you better hope you committed that fucker to memory, my guy, because that's the only way you're going to be able to go back to that loadout after you try something different again. An ability to save presets of loadouts will go such a long way in players being able to build up an arsenal that not only they feel comfortable with, but also feel comfortable in stepping away from the normality to try new things. I'd like to see this preset functionality applied to camos on weapons as well. Now that we've got so many possible combinations out there, it would be nice to have some sort of favorites as a quick selection once you come up with a color scheme that you like. And I feel like this is going to become even more important as BattleBit's armory and its, gear selection, all that fun stuff expands out as the game continues to get more content, because the more stuff you have to sift through, the more painful this is going to be every time you've got to reset and, rebuild your loadouts. So I feel like that's got to be a pretty high-end priority for the developers in 2024. Which conveniently leads me on to my next wish list item here. Now, yeah, I get it. This one is about as inventive and as inspired as plain white bread as a diet, but I do want to see BattleBit's armory continue to expand a little bit this year. With the redistribution of weapons into correct categories, it's definitely opened up the roster for some more weapons to come into the fold, and I feel like the introduction of new weapons has definitely been a little slower than what the majority of the community may have expected with early access so far. We know that a lot more weapons have sort of been pseudo-confirmed through data mining, including the likes of the M60 LMG and the AN94 assault rifle, among others, but I'd also love to see additions like the M240B, the RPD and the PKM, a Barrett 50 cal, some burst fire assault rifles, the MTAR-21, the Uzi. Look, the list goes on, and I can name weapons till the cows come home, but all in all, I just want to see more weapons added to the game. I'd also like to see a more variety in the way of gadgets added to the game as well. I've mentioned this before, but but more launches would be a good step in the right direction to hold different qualities by comparison to the RPG-7. I'd also be keen to see something like a defibrillator available on the medic class as well. You know, an alternative to bandages for revives that allows for faster revives, but also provides less health on a revive by comparison to said bandages, for example. I do want to preface this, however, by saying that I want to see new weapons and gear added to the game, but I don't want to see that come in the form of fluff. I'm very much a big fan of every weapon in a first-person shooter game having its own defined niche or role, you know? And I don't mean that in the sense that only certain weapons are good for certain things, just that there are identifiable characteristics for a weapon that make it unique enough to its counterparts. BattleBit has done a great job with this so far, and I want to see this continue as the armory of the game continues to grow. And before it comes up in the comment section down below, nope, I don't want to see shotguns added. Let's just close that right then and there. We can talk about that more in a video later down the track if we need to, okay? Cool. Another one of the big ticket items that's been of hot debate in the communities of late is the game's audio. We know that work is being done via a third party in some capacity to overhaul the audio of this game, but I really think that that implementation should take a priority in 2024. Now, don't get me wrong, that's not to say that the audio for BattleBit is atrocious by any means. We've obviously made some missteps lately with the muffling of audio upon getting an injury and stuff like that, but for the most part, BattleBit's very basic audio kinda holds up against the game's, let's just say, very basic presentation in other departments. At the end of the day, as long as the audio is functional and achieves what it needs to do for situational awareness, it's not necessarily a detriment to the experience at the moment, and I think it kind of gets that sorted for now. But there is also some room for improvement for sure. Beefier weapon audio and some overall improvements to the clarity of the spatial audio would go a long way to make the game just feel that smidge more immersive, but also more readable as well. In saying that, this is also one of those situations where a bit of self-moderation needs to be exercised, if you will. We are talking about a blocky, Minecraft-esque game after all, and if the audio was to suddenly become overtly realistic, it's going to feel disjointed against the rest of the game very quickly. It's why we've heard reservations from the developers when members of the community have offered to go out to firing ranges and record overly realistic weapon audio sounds. Sure, it would be cool as hell and it works for games like Escape from Tarkov and Armor and all that fun stuff, but it would feel very much out of place here with BattleBit based on the graphical style of the game. So that's something to factor into things here as well. Now, keeping the ball rolling here, the developers have already sort of been hard at work with this one in some capacity, that being with the game's camo system, but I'm keen to see more long-term progression and endgame content added to BattleBit overall as well. I think one of BattleBit's biggest struggles to date here, folks, has been retaining players for the long term, right? It's the kind of game where you just jump in for a little while and shoot some shit with your buddies for a bit of fun, right? That's what BattleBit really answers the call of being at the moment. And while that's all well and good and fine, it really doesn't have the staying power to keep players around for the long run, even if the players kind of want to stick around for the long run because they feel like they run out of stuff to do. And you know, when we live in a gaming ecosystem where there's things like battle passes everywhere that prey on the fear of missing out, BattleBit as a game that doesn't incorporate that is likely going to lose some of those dedicated players just on the basis that, well, it's not a game that demands you to log in and complete a battle pass daily. And that's perfectly fine. But I think some work can definitely be done here to give players more things to aim for in the long run at their own pace. Things like mastery challenges with both weapons and gadgets that directly relates to the weapon or the gadget in question. So for example, you could even have unique unlocks for bandages that would give you, you know, a unique bandage cosmetic of some kind if you did X challenge with it, or something of the sort. We've kind of got things like this already on, say, sledgehammers, and also on weaponry now with the bronze, silver, and gold mastery camos, but I'd like to see additional cosmetics come to the game that act as sort of long-term unlocks, or even expressions of mastery that you can sort of go, hey, yeah, look, I'm a badass when it comes to this weapon, stuff like that. We've started to see stuff like this in the upcoming update section of the BattleBit Discord with things like weapon charms and even ghillie suit camos for weapons as well, and I kind of hope the devs can continue expanding on this to give more stuff to players to keep them around for the long run. On top of that, I'd be keen to see things like ribbons akin to what you'd see in Battlefield games as well. Just another, you know, little in-a-moment reward for completing a certain task X amount of times, or for, you know, playing really well as a support player, stuff like that. And you could even tie that into leaderboards and give your players a way to sort of have a bit of a dick swinging match against each other around certain playstyles. I know we've got global leaderboards and friend leaderboards in the game at the moment, but with ribbons you could even tie more competition into things as well, which would be nice, you know? Now, the next and final item for the list here today, folks, is going to be a bit of a tough one, but it's one worth discussing, I think. Vehicles. Now, it's pretty clear that at the moment, vehicles in BattleBit are secondary to the core experience that is experienced by infantry gameplay, right? Vehicles are basically a traversal tool above all else, but when it comes to the combat side of the game, they're pretty shallow and don't have much in the way going for them to keep you coming around and playing vehicles regularly. Like, you'll do the odd novelty run in a tank, and you'll call it a day, essentially. Now, in fairness, I don't think this is necessarily the worst thing in the world at the moment. Games with vehicles that dominate infantry without any counters really destroys the gameplay flow of said game, and given that the majority of players in a BattleBit match will be playing infantry over vehicles mathematically speaking, we do need to be careful about how much attention we give to the vehicle subsection of the game that few will regularly experience. However, I also feel like if we're going to have vehicles in the game, they should at least have more in-depth stuff to them in the form of progression and customization. I'd love to see both mechanical and cosmetic customization come to vehicles to give players more reason to master that side of the game. You know, I think it'd be cool to be able to customize tanks and BTR loadouts and maybe even helicopter loadouts in some capacity. I'm not sure what that would look like yet, but it'd be cool to, you know, add a bit more to that side of the game for my vehicle aficionados out there, assuming once again that it doesn't become intrusive on the rest of the game. But folks, with all that said, that's kind of everything I want to see BattleBit focus on in the year 2024, and now I am excited to hear what all of you want to see out of BattleBit in the coming year. I am very confident that we're going to see a wide variety of responses, and I'm looking forward to discussing it with you guys all in both the comments and in my Discord, so again, make sure you go join the link in the description down below for that. As always, folks, if you enjoyed the video, while you're down there, backhand that like button to support the good old algorithm gods and, you know, help this video reach out to those who need to see it. And I hope you've all had a fantastic day. Once again, guys, hope you enjoyed today's video. Peace out, and I will see you guys all in the next one. Take care, guys. Have a good one.